Not every film can be Citizen Kane, but even critics have claimed that it was shit in its day. Some films are shit and shit they will stay, but some get better over time because of Nicolas Cage. So which film stays shit forever? And which one's got a little bit better? Second chance movies. No poor bloods were harmed in the making of this podcast.
I'm one of your hosts, Jessica Kwazz.
And I'm the other host, Joe Harper.
And yeah, Joe, we are about to get into a movie.
This is a movie that's, oh boy. I remember you and I saw this in theaters, and after it, we discussed it in the parking lot because we couldn't get it off our minds what we had just witnessed. And it was about like an hour, 2 hours of just yelling and screaming in a parking lot of, what just happened? What did we sit through? And that movie is Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice. Yeah, so our first chance with this movie, our first viewing, was actually together. You and I were like pretty pumped, actually. We're like, let's see what this is all about. This seems like it could be cool.
I'm a fan of the superhero movies, the genre. I like comics. Huge fan of Batman, and seeing Batman and Superman together was just, every fan's like dream. We're like, oh, this is finally happening. We're so pumped for it. And I believe when we left the theater, most people were just disappointed with this movie.
Yeah, I feel like it was a lot of silence while leaving the theater, just somber feelings.
Just sad, and it could have been so much more. I felt like we had so much potential, and it just, oh man, I just have rough feelings. Every time I think about that movie, I get a little bit angry, and I shouldn't be angry at a movie. Movies are supposed to be fun, take you out in, imagination land, and this just, I don't know, I was just mad at everything.
Well, coming from my angle, I'm not much of a comic book fan like you are, to your degree. So for me, I just wanted to watch, like, what is the DCU cooking up? Like, this is supposed to be it. So I was like really curious and fascinated to see what that would be like. And I gotta be honest, like, just based on everything that was about it beforehand, I didn't have like the highest expectations, but I was very neutral, trying to give it a shot. And oh boy, something happened. A lot of things happened. But yeah, we've decided to give it another shot and see how it holds up now.
Yeah. It's been, I would say, like a few years since I've seen it. I believe I saw it when it released on DVD or Blu-ray, but then after that, it's been years since then. So it's been like it's been about, I would say, 4 or 5 years since the last time I watched it.
I haven't seen it since we watched it in theaters together, and the visceral anger I felt was enough to say, no, thank you. That's something like that Joe and I differ on, is like, I will watch a movie once and be like, that's fine. And Joe will rewatch movies, and I
love rewatching it. I love giving things that second chance, or if I liked it, I'm gonna watch it again because it was fun the first time. It should be fun the second time, and the third time, and all the times. And I like just seeing the action of, at least in this movie. I wanted to see, like, did my mind change after all this time? Was I too mad at the time? Just because it was the instant, like, this is my first impression of it. Now that I've had a few years to cool off, do I enjoy it a little bit more, giving it, some perspective?
Well, we'll have to wait to find out, because before we get into our second chances, let's talk about the movie itself.
So Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice is the follow-up / sequel to Man of Steel, which released a few years earlier. It is kind of our start, or hey, we're building that DC universe with all of our Justice League heroes. The Avengers, I think, just happened, and so I think they were trying to establish their own Justice League of the DCU characters. And yeah, that's where it goes south. But IMDb describes this movie as the summary of the movie: fearing that the actions of Superman are left unchecked, Batman takes on the Man of Steel while the world wrestles with what kind of a hero it really needs. Do you think that describes that movie well?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. My summary is way more simplified.
Go with your summary. Our summaries might be similar because I simplified that even more than that brief description.
So my summary is Batman is super pissed because when Superman is doing stuff, he is just like fucking up a lot of shit. And he's like, bro, control yourself. But instead of having a conversation where they can like sort this out, like on a, in a productive way, they decide to have an all-out brawl, which results in both of them fucking shit up.
Okay, that was the lengthy description. My description: Batman wants to fight Superman because of the events of Man of Steel. I simplified it.
That's it. I mean, yeah.
That's it. He just wants to fight him, and Superman's like, we shouldn't be fighting because we're both good people, but
And I gotta say too, like, what our last episode was on Man of Steel, and while I was watching Man of Steel, I was like, you know what, Batman's got a good point. Like, there's shit getting all sorts of fucked up in this movie, and it's bad. So like, yeah, I don't disagree.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of destruction at the end of Man of Steel, and we need, somebody to put that in check. The army couldn't do anything, but then again, why would Batman be any stronger than an entire, national army? We'll see. Good luck, Batman. In this movie, we get most of our returning cast from Man of Steel. We got Henry Cavill, who we all know as Superman. He's also been following up from that as the Mission Impossible Fallout and Man from U.N.C.L.E. We also have returning Amy Adams, as you should know, from Arrival, Enchanted, American Hustle, The Master. She's a terrific actress, been nominated for Oscars about 6 times. We got Diane Lane back, Lawrence Fishburne back. And so a lot of returning cast from Man of Steel. New additions to our universe, our DC universe, are Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, Batman.
Ooh.
I remember
Which is the inspiration for my eye makeup today. And for those of you who are listening in audio form, you can check out the visuals on YouTube or our Instagram page.
Because I know Kwazz likes to decorate her eyes in a theme of our show, I decorated my room in a theme of the show and put trash over there.
Fitting. Very fitting.
I'm mean. I'm going to be mean this episode probably.
Well,
I don't like being mean, but oh God.
It's going to happen.
Ooh. So Ben Affleck, I remember when this was announced, everyone went nuts. Everyone was divided on this. It was either Ben Affleck sucks, I don't want him as Batman. The other half was like, that is an interesting choice. Let's see what happens. I was on the very interesting choice. I wouldn't have called it. I would have never suspected him because the last his career had been kind of rocky, I think, since Gigli. but luckily he started doing some directing with The Town, with Argo, won the Oscar for Argo. So I think those two movies helped bring us back to focus that Ben Affleck's a talented guy. Let's see this out. Let's not rule him out as a bad Batman yet, because let's see it. I do remember the first like teaser trailer we got, and we saw him for the first time. He does this like little smirk as Bruce Wayne, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." I'm liking.
Okay, so you were sold on it pretty fast.
I was, when I just saw him as Bruce Wayne. I thought, yeah, this is a great choice. This is gonna be fun. I like different, interesting choices I don't see coming. Because if we all are like, this is obviously the choice, yeah, I guess so. But the unexpected choices are the more fun choices. We also arriving in this movie as our villain, our kind of main antagonist, is Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, who we all know hopefully from Social Network and Zombieland. Very talented actor. Lex Luthor is kind of a villain we kind of always see paired with Superman. So let's see this interpretation, I guess, or how this Lex Luthor is going to be.
Yeah, I have thoughts, but we'll wait. We'll wait on those thoughts.
I have a fun hot take on this Lex Luthor, but hot takes are for later. All right. Also, a new addition to our universe is Jeremy Irons as Alfred, which great choice, I think. He's won an Oscar. He's also, I think, most famous for our generation as Scar from The Lion King.
Yep.
Yeah.
Iconic.
I'm always a huge fan of Die Hard 3. That was my jam growing up. We also have another Oscar winner, Holly Hunter, from The Piano, but also most of us probably recognize her voice from The Incredibles. She's Miss Incredible, or Elastigirl. She's Elastigirl, not Mrs. Incredible. Elastigirl. And we also get Gal Gadot in the first of many appearances as Wonder Woman. Yeah.
That's the cast. Yeah. There's a whole bunch more people in it, but that's the main. That's our main. There's, I think, two other actors that kind of have a prominent thing, but they're not as well known. But we'll probably talk about them. I know we will. All right. This was directed by Zack Snyder, who we all know from Man of Steel. He also did 300, Watchmen, Sucker Punch. He definitely has a distinct style, which, we either love it, dislike it. I think it's a fun style. I like it.
It carries over to this movie, I believe, as well. Writing this movie, we have David S. Goyer back. He helped write a bit of Man of Steel, also some of the Dark Knight trilogy, or he's responsible for the whole Dark Knight trilogy. And then we have Chris Terrio, who helped write Argo. So he has the Oscar for Argo. Right?
Yes. And he has another writer credit post this BVS.
Post Batman vs Superman. He helped write Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
This is where I start pointing fingers.
Yeah. We'll save Rise of Skywalker for a whole nother episode. But just keep that in your back pocket that he did that too.
He did that. He's responsible for the Rise of Skywalker, or the Fall of Skywalker.
Oh.
This movie, Batman vs Superman, was nominated for 8 Razzies.
Oof.
Oh, that's a lot of Razzies.
That's a lot of Razzies.
Razzies, for those who don't know, are the opposite of Oscars. They are awarded to not great movies, not great performances. And I'll say some of these Razzies I don't necessarily agree with. But it was nominated for Worst Picture, didn't win. Worst Actor.
I'm sorry, what did win? If that didn't win, what else could have possibly won?
The worst picture winner that year was Hillary's America: The Secret History of the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah, that was like a propaganda film.
Yeah,
So
that I haven't heard of it, but that does not sound like
that's not a bad thing to have not heard of it.
I will say its competition was, oh man, it had a lot of competition that year. We have Dirty Grandpa, Gods of Egypt, Independence Day Resurgence, and Zoolander
Oh,
2.
yeah,
Ooh.
actually that should have won.
So, which?
It could have been it should have been a tie between BVS and Independence Day 2. Maybe we'll do an episode on Independence Day 2 because I still have a lot of feelings on it.
I'm not a fan of Independence Day 2. I'm not a fan of Zoolander. Zoolander 2 was so boring. I was so disappointed. I will say Batman vs Superman was the one I liked the most out of that list I just heard.
It's a rough list.
Wow, that was a rough list. Oh, yikes. Worst actor, Ben Affleck was nominated for, didn't win. What else? What are some fun ones? Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer did win worst screenplay, and
That's fair.
that is fair. It is the worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel, and it got worst screen combo for Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. I don't agree with that.
No,
I think those two, both good actors, both great at those two characters, and seeing them together, it wasn't terrible.
Well, I think one of them were good at that character, but we'll get into that later.
All right. Let's go to our box office. It was released on March 25th, 2016. The budget was roughly about $250 million. Opening weekend in the US, it earned $166 million, and worldwide gross $873 million. So it definitely got back its money. So that's good. And roughly about almost four times as much. So good job, movie.
But I do want to say that, like, while it did make a ton of money, it was only in the initial release, and then that dropped down really fast. So like, it was the biggest opening weekend gross of a DC film, but then it was also the second week was the biggest drop off for any DC film. So I mean, I don't know like the validity of that because they are DC films. And it did only spend 12 weeks in the US theaters, whereas Captain America Civil War, which came out the same year, was in theaters for over 20 weeks. So they made their money right away, and then people were like, no, thank you.
I think one of the things that probably hurt it was the reception. That first weekend, we all wanted to go see it.
Yes.
We all saw it and were very disappointed. And,
yeah,
just said our piece. And most of the people that hadn't seen it were like, the fans hated it that much. Because those fans will watch anything.
They're not going to encourage their friends to go see it. So yeah, like, we're talking big numbers. It definitely made a return, but at the same time, I don't think they got what they were hoping for. Just saying, allegedly.
Rotten Tomatoes gives it on its tomato meter scale a very low 28%. That's very low for a movie. Audience thought of it as 62%, which is fresh, but it's not that fresh. 28% is low.
Yeah, but like,
it's almost unwatchable.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Rotten Tomatoes, let's get into some reviews. My favorite part of the episode.
Sure. If you like reviews, I like hearing reviews.
I like reviews because, again, it's like a time capsule into what we thought of the movie at the time.
First chance with the movie.
Everyone's first chance. So it's a time capsule of the first chance of the movie. And yeah, just people's initial reactions are just, I don't know, art. I love it. So we'll start off with a positive one because we have sort of been like shitting on the movie a little bit. So one positive review was Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice is kind of wonderful in a steampunk meets industrial punk sort of way. And that's by Richard Propes at The Independent Critic.
I don't really think a steampunk when I see this movie.
No. Or
Steampunk is something
industrial
different to me.
punk. That flew right over my head. Jesse Hazinger from Brooklyn Magazine said, "It's too much, and it's not enough. In short, nobody wins."
Oh man. So far that's my favorite review of this movie.
Yeah, it works.
I would like to point out that I don't think we mentioned this yet. The theatrical release was about 150 minutes. Our second viewing there since then has been an ultimate cut release with 30 extra minutes. So now it's 180ish minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the version we watched.
Yeah.
We're hoping maybe they give us more to the story. It just felt longer. And that review definitely reminded me of that.
Let's go with the positive one. You know, we're trying to be equal here.
Ooh, it's hard to find those.
Well, Richard Roper, Chicago Sun-Times, wrote, "When it sings, Dawn of Justice is wonder. When it drags, it still looks good and offers hints of a better scene just around the corner." Oh, I don't know about that one.
I will say there's a lot of the moments in the movie I think there's really good shots and it looks good, and I'm hoping the next thing is going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we get better.
Rob Hunter with Film School Rejects says, "It so badly wants you to be excited for Justice League that it forgets to keep you excited about Batman versus Superman," which I think, Robert Hunter, you're onto something.
All right. Now, on to the meat and potatoes of our episode.
Yes.
Our second chance with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what did you feel the second time through, Jessica?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I didn't feel good.
Okay.
I was not.
You can't even find the words. I can see the look in your face. You're so upset about this.
I can't, because here's the thing, like, enough time has passed since the first time I watched it, like we said, in theaters, the opening weekend.
Yeah.
When we had, expectations of it.
It's been a while.
It had been a while. So going into it this time, which was actually my second time watching it, I kind of tried to take a step back, be a little neutral, and be like, you know what, let's just see how it is. Let's just go into it with an open mind. And I feel like that didn't last long for a number of reasons. I mean, God, there's just so many things I could get into about this movie, and the things I don't like, and the issues with it.
We'll get into all those. Yeah, okay. We'll get into it all.
We'll get into it all.
So overall, it sounds like it was not a good experience the second time around.
Not a good experience.
Was it worse than the first time? Which time did you enjoy more?
I enjoyed the first screening more because there was the camaraderie you and I had of just tearing it to shreds afterwards and making so many jokes about it. That's what I loved about it. Not the movie itself, just the after the movie being like, wow, let's tear it up. Whereas this time, I was watching it by myself, and I definitely still had a few chuckles.
But you had no one to complain to about?
No one to complain to about it.
What is this?
Like, what are you seeing this? No, it's just me. So this is, for me, it's a really hard movie to describe how I feel about it, because there was so much potential. There was so much potential that was just wasted. And that really fucking grinds my gears.
There's a lot of wasted potential. My first viewing was definitely disappointing, but a lot of fun chatting with you about it. Second viewing, this it's probably the third viewing of it. I got to watch with the wife who had never seen it. She'd never seen Man of Steel. We watched that movie. Next night we watched Batman vs Superman, and her comments as a non-superhero fan, she'll watch them, but she is not like, yeah, she's like you, not going out of her way to see a superhero movie unless I told her I want to watch this. Okay, and she'll sit through it. Her comments I loved, and I definitely wrote down some of her comments.
Were they positive or negative comments?
Just different.
Okay.
They're different all around. Yeah, it's kind of like what is happening? Like, what is this? Or just, she says things.
Yeah. I mean, that's the vibe of the whole movie, though, is like, what is happening? Like, what is happening?
I definitely think this is the movie to be watched with somebody else, because I think it's just more entertaining to watch a not great movie with somebody. That way you share the camaraderie of the suffering.
Yeah, it's why The Room is so popular, because people love to watch it together and just laugh.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the vibe of this is.
Martha.
So, like, I have so many. Okay, I guess we should just kind of, like, start from, like, the basics before we get into all the details.
Sure.
I think, for me, what was very strange right off the bat is that this is supposed to be... this was marketed as a Superman sequel.
I think originally it definitely was. I think it originated as Man of Steel 2, which eventually down the line morphed itself into Batman vs Superman.
Which, like, I think this movie overall could have been way more interesting if it had been from the perspective of Superman and having to deal with being misunderstood, and now I have a vigilante who wants to fucking, like, murder me. I think that could have been a way more interesting angle, because we know Batman. We know his intentions are good, but, like, what does it look like for Superman when it's...
Or anyone else, I think.
Or anyone else like that.
Just an outside perspective who doesn't know him.
Who doesn't know him, and he's coming after him, essentially. Like, that's an interesting take on it that we weren't given.
I mean, that could have been really cool. It, like, maybe Batman was our main villain. We, the audience, know Batman's great. He's a superhero, but Superman, through the eyes of Superman, not knowing this guy is trouble, he's bad news. That could have been a really interesting perspective for us, the audience, watching it, thinking, "Oh no, they're gonna fight, but they shouldn't. They're good people."
Right. And, like, also they were going for this more, like, rough and tough, like, I've seen some shit Batman. Like, who's to say, like, he wasn't, like, kind of unhinged and maybe was gonna fuck shit up? So, like, yeah, I think there was an opportunity there for it to have been a Superman movie dealing with how to work with other vigilantes, or, like, prove himself over and over and over again. So yeah, that was definitely something like that right off the bat. Was it bothered me. Another thing that really bothered me right away was that it very quickly became a Batman movie.
It definitely feels... It starts off with Batman.
It starts off with Batman, Bruce, and, like, okay, I'm sorry, how many fucking times do we need to see the Waynes get murdered in the alley?
Oh, that's how it starts. I totally forget that. Like, that is the very intro scene.
That's the opening. Is like,
not
okay,
necessary. Not necessary.
Not necessarily. We know it all.
I don't mind
it all.
Later in the movie when they do the Martha conflict.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine if you flash them to remind us, like, oh yeah, that's what he's thinking about when he hears the word Martha.
Right.
But now at the beginning, we don't need to see it again, even if it's slow motion and music is playing. We get it. It's we've seen it. We know it. We should know it. If you don't know it, tough. Figure it out later in the movie.
And, like, and to that point too, like, not only does it start off with his origin story, if you will. But then it also goes into a voiceover of Bruce. And so it's like, okay, so did we just hijack this movie here, bro? Which could have been fine, but then there definitely wasn't equal parts for both of these characters, like at all. Like Superman kind of got shafted and it became more, Batman's
movie.
trying to take on Superman.
I do think that the opening scene should have just been Bruce Wayne in Metropolis, because that moment is one of my favorites in the movie. Seeing his perspective that we didn't see in Man of Steel, his perspective of the ending Metropolis battle with Zod.
Yes.
We even see like when Zod does his like laser eyes through the building, it's the exact same method, but from a different angle perspective on the ground. And I thought, and outside the building, I thought, wow, that's so impressive, to those small details like that. And it also shows Bruce Wayne helping people. So we know right off the bat, this guy is good, even though Superman might think he's the villain.
Right. And I do agree with that. I think starting it right off the bat where the last movie ended, left off, like, I think that would have been way more powerful to see like the actual destruction that is affecting people and what is making Bruce so mad. Like, but then, God, I have another issue too, because like the attacks that Bruce witnessed didn't feel very personal. Like, yeah, of course it was terrible destruction, but like
my building.
Yeah, like a couple coworkers had broke a leg. Like, I needed to feel like these were my people.
He didn't break a leg. He lost his legs.
He lost his leg. I'm sorry.
But that character becomes important later to our story.
Yeah. But like, I think there could have been more of that where it's like, my entire team, like my business family, was fucking wiped out, or like, so just something a little extra for me to be like, okay, yeah, you got to take this on as your personal problem for sure, Betty. Superman only had 42 lines of dialogue in the entire movie.
Compared to, do you know how many all the other characters got?
No, but I'm sure Batman got way more.
But
42 in a 3-hour movie?
It's not very many.
But
Superman is more of like a stoic guy, but like still, like, yeah, he should be doing it. We should have a lot more Superman, because this is the Superman sequel. It's not the Batman movie. It's definitely the Superman sequel.
It's a Superman sequel where we introduce the dynamics of other superheroes. Absolutely. But turned into something else entirely. Okay. We briefly mentioned this before. Jesse Eisenberg was such a weird choice for Lex Luthor. I will say that he is giving a good performance. He might be the only one on that set having a good time. Like, just being kooky and being funny and being weird. But he's
a character with the most like positive energy that doesn't have to brute.
Yeah, like he brings this sort of like millennial, like Elon Musk kind of like, I'm like, like just this weird vibe to it that is very refreshing to see in superhero movies, for sure. I don't know enough about Superman lore to care much about Lex Luthor, but from what I've seen, it's a very different take on Lex Luthor, and I respect that. That's a risk. I think it's cool. But first of all, like, in the grand scheme of things, his character does feel very unnecessary to the movie. He's got some really cool scenes that I find entertaining, especially when he's talking to Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. Like, I think that's one of the more entertaining sections of the movie. But there's already so much going on that it's overwhelming, that I feel like there was a disconnect between like he's the villain, but like Batman thinks Superman's the villain, and then Superman thinks Batman's the villain. So there was too much. I think there could have been Batman, Superman stuff that should have been taken out to make room for Lex and for us to understand like what exactly he's doing. So that was kind of annoying. And then when they finally were able to give him these like villainous moments, it just was like, bro, why are you even doing this? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. So my biggest issue with the movie, I think everything I have complaints on stems from this thing, which eventually goes into talking about Lex Luthor, is I don't think we got a justified reason, or at least a good enough reason, for why Batman and Superman need to fight.
Right.
I don't think there's just something that lacks, that I just don't feel like the two of them need to fight.
Mhm.
I understand why Batman would want to fight Superman, but Superman doesn't really have a reason to fight until like the very end, when Lex, hey, I caught your girl, or I caught your mom, and she's gonna die. And if you don't kill or if you don't kill Batman, she's dead too. And so Lex Luthor is a character in this movie I don't think we need, because I think Batman should be our main antagonist that turns out to be, oh, we don't really need to be fighting at all. Yeah. But I do think Eisenberg should be in this movie. I don't necessarily think he should be Lex Luthor. From what we get, him playing like puppet master and strings, my hot take is I think he should have been the Riddler.
Fuck yeah. I was thinking that too while watching it this time around. Like his vibe is Riddler. He is like 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
The fact that he's like manipulating, playing it, and it's all a head game for him, I don't really think is a Lex Luthor thing. Because I do think Lex Luthor wants like all the power and control, but Riddler just wants to prove that he's smarter than Batman, smarter than, hopefully, if he's with Superman, that he's smarter than the God. And I think it would have benefited this movie if he was the Riddler, planting clues everywhere, rather than the Lex Luthor we got. Because like Luthor has this like daddy complex, which is fine, but he also has this like, I don't understand what his beef is at all in the movie with Superman. He has all these like big speeches about gods and angels and demons, and I think they're interesting, but I don't think it explains why he really has this dislike for Superman so much. If anything, I would feel like he want to be him, or just get to know this guy better based off those speeches, instead of just trying to overpower this dude.
Yeah, I think, like, I guess from what I gathered from the movie was that he wanted to be able to control like the closest thing we have to a god. But then it was like, all right, well, what's the end game there? Like,
You're not controlling him if you kill him, and you're not controlling him if you get him to murder somebody. It's just you put him in a situation. I don't know, it just falls flat of his. I don't have a reason for, at least I don't think Lex has a real reason to like want to fight Superman. Have you seen the show Smallville?
Yeah, I actually have seen the show Smallville.
I think he's one of the characters in Smallville.
He is one of the characters in Smallville, I think, and they're friends when they're younger. So
oh, cool. So yeah, I think we have enough Lex Luthor in movies, just like I feel we have enough Joker in Batman movies. Can we please just use a villain we don't know much about?
And there's a wealth of them there to choose from. There's so many.
And we kind of got a new one in the end of this movie, in like Doomsday. I like Doomsday, the big old monster, and the fact that all of our heroes have to fight this thing at the end. I like that a lot. And I like that they bring Shannon back and make Michael Shannon. For those of you who didn't watch the last episode, Michael Shannon is one of our favorite actors.
Yes.
He stole the show in Man of Steel as Zod, and he's barely back in this one as a corpse.
Mm-hmm.
That Lex Luthor, again, not really sure the motivations behind this.
No.
He makes the Zod's corpse into this giant monster, which is a lot like Doomsday. It's a lot of main characters that we're juggling around that don't really get much screen time with each other.
Yeah.
And when we do, they don't really have motivations to bring them together that justify like this 3-hour movie.
No, it did not need to be 3 hours. There were just so many scenes where characters are talking, and it's
Okay.
like each scene is trying to create these like incredible like character moments, but they just fall flat, and that's it. They just like so there's just so much fucking dialogue about things that like ultimately did not matter in the end, that we could have trimmed so fast. And like it was weird too, like Amy Adams, who was like so good in Man of Steel and so independent, like wasn't given enough to do, and so they sent her on this weird like this uh reporting that like what was she, I didn't, that's convoluted as hell.
This is another point of the movie that I don't get. We really send Lois Lane on a almost meaningless task as a detective journal. Well, she's a journalist, but I feel like she's playing detective more so, and it doesn't really. I feel none of this pays off. She's just kind of given something to do. Like we have Amy Adams as Lois. We're not really sure what to do with her. Let's have her be this side part of the movie of her tracking down the same like information that at the end didn't really matter because Lex Luthor is going to kidnap her anyway. And she figures out that Lex is behind it all, but is still kidnapped and pushed off a building for knowing it. I just feel like, yeah, Man of Steel, she was great with her investigating, and this investigating just seemed really shallow. I think one of my favorite moments in this movie, one of the favorites, when he has a talk with Martha Kent, his mom, his Earth mom. She mentions to him, "You don't owe them a thing," and I think, wow, the fact that Earth mom is like, "Hey, don't like, why are you defending all these Earthlings that do not care for you?" And I was like, that's some good mom advice that he needed to hear.
Yeah.
But he still is like good guy. Like, hey, you know what? They want to talk to me. I'll let them talk.
So before we get to the best part of that whole thing, which I think you know what I'm talking about, I just have a quick question for you. I want your opinion because I am going back and forth on this. So do you think Senator Finch, who is played by iconic Oscar winner Succession guest star Holly Hunter, do you think that she is a Democrat or a Republican?
Well, I mean, I know the answer.
Is it explicitly said in the movie?
Yeah, I think it's Democratic leader. Or I think she's definitely a Democrat, I think, labeled in the movie. But I feel like she has more conservative views. I'm pretty sure she's from Kentucky. I could be wrong, and I could just be talking a lot.
I don't know. Sure that was something that popped into my mind, and I've been really mulling it over because it could kind of be either.
Okay, I think she's labeled as a Democrat, but I think she's from Kentucky, which is not very liberal. It's been a lot conservative. So if that was the case, yeah, I think it definitely worked more if she was conservative. She may be conservative, but I don't remember the detail. One reason why is because I'm kind of bored this entire movie.
But that leads us into probably like my favorite sequence of the entire movie because it's just so fucking unbelievable. Like we were saying, Superman. And by the way, this is really difficult to talk about after the events of January 6th, 2021. But before that, in 2016, when I saw this movie, that scene where, he's coming in, he's ready to have a conversation with people. and it's looking like we can broker some agreement, some peace, and then all of a sudden a bomb is strapped somewhere to the Wayne Enterprises employee who lost his leg.
So I will say the lead up to that is done so well. So we have a character named Wallace Keefe, who's played by Scoot McNairy, who I feel is very underrated. I think that guy should
He
be in
is.
way more things. Wallace is the Bruce Wayne at the beginning of the opening scene when Metropolis gets destroyed. He's the one that loses his legs in the destruction of Superman. So he has a very big I hate Superman vibe. He even goes in one part, which I enjoy. There's a big statue of Superman. He climbs up it and sprays false god over it. That imagery just looks really awesome. He sprays that. That takes notice of Lex. Lex uses that guy and gives him this nice wheelchair. He doesn't let him know he put a bomb in it. Boom, he just explodes. It's like, holy sweet Jesus. I feel like this is one of the strongest moments in this movie. Even watching it a second time, this is a good moment of movie. This just fuels the fire for Batman wanting to fight Superman more, this is fine. This is just another reason why Batman should try and stop Superman, because it looks like it looks like Superman caused this a little bit, but also it doesn't, because he's instantly afterwards helping all the people that survived the blast to the ambulances. So I'm like, okay, well, definitely this guy is not the cause of it, or he would have just flew out of there.
Well, I feel like I could shit on this movie for hours at a time. I could still keep going. Joe, is there anything you did like about this movie? Because I don't know.
I like a lot of the actors. I like all the casting in this movie. One thing I think is really good is Wonder Woman's entrance. I think that's pretty epic. With our villains at the end, although I hate how we get to it. This moment is epic. I do not like how we got to it for two reasons. One, marketing in this movie, I think, ruined a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
One of the things that the DC trailers I've seen mostly give away big spoiler points, and I think anything that's a surprise to the audience shouldn't be in your trailer. The fact that we have Gal Gadot dressed as Wonder Woman and popping up, I hate that. Don't show that to me. I think the audience would have lost their shit had we not known who that was. I like the whole fight of them, the three of them, using all their fun gadgets and powers to fight that giant monster is awesome. I think that Doomsday monster looks cool. It looks like something that it will take 3 superheroes to put down. So that's an epic sequence at the end.
I do agree that as like her introduction as Wonder Woman coming to fight and help, because that's what she feels like she should do. But before that, I did not like how Diana was represented in this movie. She was like, it was like her elusiveness came off as like flirtation, and her introduction made her seem more like a potential love interest for Bruce. It just like felt like there were so many comments too of Bruce being like, oh, sorry, I got distracted by a pretty girl, and it's like her walking across and like,
well, that's just Affleck being a good Bruce Wayne. You disagree all you want. The Bruce Wayne is like a womanizer. He's got to be
sure, but he could also have professional working relationships with women, where he doesn't need to comment on their appearances. But yeah, I don't know. That was just an issue I had, was just the very first introduction of just Diana. But I do think seeing a character like Wonder Woman on screen has done so many wonders for so many reasons, for so many girls, for so many filmmakers. So I'm not knocking that at all. But yeah, it was a little too like male gazy introduction to her. So do you want to take the lead on the Martha of it all?
Of course I do. I think one of the most iconic moments in this movie is the Martha scene where they both realize their moms have the same name. So their fight is, I think, pretty underwhelming. I think Batman's suit looks awesome. I like this huge bulkiness. I think he's got a few methods that he has to slow Superman down, which at first are amazing. That Superman just like destroys everything that's stopping. Like, dude, like stop trying to fight me. You'll never win. I'm too powerful. But
Can
then
I, sorry, can I just say, like, the best part of that fight, in my opinion, is when Batman is just trying to deck him over and over and over, and Superman has like no change in face whatsoever. Like, bro, come on, stop. Can we talk, please?
yeah, he's just, hey, I gotta talk to you. I feel like Batman really would have been like, what do you want to hear? What do you have to say to me?
Yeah,
He would just like, I gotta fight him. Like, again, Superman has done nothing but help save people. Yeah, he made a huge destruction, but it was all at the cost of saving everyone and stopping the threat of other more powerful, possibly powerful aliens. But he sprays him in the face with kryptonite to slow him down and give him the more, make him more human, so he's able to fight Superman. Some of the fight sequence, yeah, it's okay. I think it's more epic. I think the battle at the end with the giant Frankenzod, as the wife kept referring to him as. And then Batman saving Martha, I think were way better, like, action sequences. The fact that this movie is titled Batman vs Superman, they should have fought more than the one time. Yeah, it just wasn't as epic as like it's built up.
No.
The fact that we wait like almost 2 hours to see them fight is so disappointing, because when they actually fight, it's not as amazing as it could have been.
No. And I will, on that note, like, yeah, there was so much time just spent on, again, characters just talking, just a lot of talking that really didn't lead to anything important. Trim that down, bring in more fights. Yeah, maybe not the first fight, like have a few fights, a few tension, like maybe they do try to talk, because like that's the whole time I was watching it was like, why don't you guys just try to have like a civil conversation? And then that goes wrong, and y'all got to brawl. I don't know.
I think we should have had more Batman trying to fight Superman in the whole moments of like throwing like a mantle at him, or like the manhole cover, and he just rips it in half and destroys both of Batman's things. We need more things like that, where it's just like, dude, stop. I'm way powerful. And we should have gotten that sprinkled through the movie of him trying to bring him down, and then realizing, oh, there's this kryptonite stuff. Let me use that. But they finally fight. He gets Superman knocked out. But Superman has been dying to tell Bruce, like, dude, save Martha. Like, we need to save Martha, my mom. And the way he gets it out is just, Martha. I was like, oh man, that's still rough. I do like the idea of him struggling to say it. I just don't like the delivery of that moment.
Yeah.
But him saying, save Martha, if he would have been just more out of it, like, save Martha. And Batman be like, wait, why did you say that name? And like, then freak out. Totally earned. I think that moment is, I think the idea is really good. I just don't think it's executed as smoothly as it could have been. We flash back to the pearls and the death of the Waynes.
Yeah, in case you forgot.
Which is super fun now, knowing that is two of the Walking Dead cast members whose characters hate each other.
Yeah.
Maggie and Negan, they hate each other now.
That is a fun little tidbit for the Walking Dead fans. I agree with you. I think the idea of like Superman being out of it and all he can think about his mom, and is like, we gotta save Martha. And then it's like, wait, who's Martha? And then that kind of connects them on a human level of like, oh wait, you have a mom. shit, like you're a person. But the way they went about it was just so over the top and cheesy and fucking weird. And then again, Amy Adams just flies about, comes in here hot, going, "That's his mom." That's not the delivery I think that was needed.
What are we doing with her? This is 6-time Oscar nominee Amy Adams just wasting her time in this movie.
Yeah, they
I feel
didn't give
bad.
her enough to do. They just had her run around, and it was honestly, I gotta say, sidebar, very disappointing from the lowest we saw in Man of Steel to what we get now, where she's just kind of running around, and then at the very end, just shoops right in and is like, "That's his mom, guys, get along."
One thing I'm not a huge fan of in this movie that really bothers me is all of the planning for the next movie. This movie is sprinkled
Yeah.
with, we're building things for our next upcoming movies. Stop. Focus on this movie. There's
Yeah.
an entire scene where Batman. So there's, I think, three huge things that bother me about this. Batman's dream sequence, the Flash shows up, and then Wonder Woman sees all the videos of the metahumans.
Yeah.
So we'll go with the metahumans first. The metahuman videos, I think when the movie was coming out, we got announcements that Aquaman was going to be in the movie, that Flash was going to be in the movie. And you know what?
That's right.
They weren't. They were, I remember Entertainment Weekly spreads of, they were like photographed, ready, like they're going to be in this movie.
Yes.
And all we got was like a little tiny video clip of him in the water.
Yeah.
And like this was not necessary. And the fact that you advertise it as like they're in it as a supporting character, almost, they're not.
That was something that definitely happened before the movie came out. They built up the idea of the first time seeing the Justice League together. And had they just not done that at all, I think it would have been a really cool scene. He's not.
I think
in it.
Wonder Woman viewing the metahuman videos should have been a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
A tease for the audience of what is to come.
And I do want to say too, like on the note of like not focusing on this movie and trying to prepare for the next movie. I mean, we're just going to get into the end part here. I am so annoyed by the fact that Superman died in this movie, not because like I have this like devotion for Superman, but by the time this movie came out, it was announced that everyone was going to be in the Justice League. So it was just this weird like fake out of like, oh, he's dead, but it just feels like a lot of time wasted for a death and a funeral for someone we know won't be staying dead. Like that just there was no emotional impact for him to die. There was no like wow, that resonated with me. It was just like, no, I know he's coming back. Henry Cavill signed on. Like, what is this fastball you're trying to pull? And then
I feel like that's more of a fault of our internet and our social media of wanting to know and needing to be the first people to tell, I know this information. Like,
and the studios do that too. Like, look who we're getting. Look who's going to be in this movie. Like,
yeah, stop. You're giving us too many things.
Too many things. And then another thing on that note, like at the end, I just don't see why Superman's death would propel Batman into forming the Justice League. Like, I just don't see why he would be like, I mean, I guess maybe out of guilt, but like,
if he's gone, I feel like maybe if he's gone, hey, Diana, we need to find the rest of them.
Yeah, but I also feel like it could have been way more impactful had Superman lived and the two of them were like, hey, you know how we like butt heads? Let's make sure that never happens again, and like let's get the gang together and support each other. I think that would have been more powerful.
From what I remember, the bringing Superman back to life in the Justice League is more of a let's come together. We can come together a different way. But yeah, his death. I think his death was shocking to me the first time because I was like, oh, but he's gonna be in the next one, so he's dead. Okay, okay. The marketing of all their movies has been kind of sloppy to me. They give away so much information that they shouldn't. I think anything in the last hour of the movie needs to stay the hell out of the trailer. Stop it.
Yeah, DC tends to do these kind of cash grabby, like, look what we got, marketing ploys. But this is not a DC podcast.
One thing I super do not like is how everyone at the Daily Planet does not recognize Clark Kent.
Okay, on top of that, did you notice that everyone at the Daily Planet is just like not reporting on news and getting their news from all the other news sources? The Daily Planet is fucking messy. What are you even doing there? They're watching television screens being like, oh wow, I didn't know that was happening. You're the news. How do you not know?
You should be reporting this, not discovering it.
Yeah, there was a lot of that where it was like, oh, that's happening. Like, get it together.
But like Superman in this movie is just so in the public's eye, like being in Congress and stuff. Oh, Clark's not around. That's super weird. Oh, Clark died the same day Superman died. That's so weird.
So weird.
How do you not like? I feel like they should know. I know it's his like secret identity. But because we're in the age of social media, it really can't be. We gotta just rip that Band-Aid off. Bruce Wayne can stay kind of because he's got a mask, but Superman does not. And yeah, oh man, yeah, the fact that none of them realize like, oh, Clark without glasses looks an awful lot like Superman.
And I think Clark doesn't do a whole lot of work around here. What's he doing?
Yeah, he's been off investigating things out of the country for so long.
He's really busy, working.
I don't think the Clark Kent identity works in 2020 or 2016.
2016, yeah.
Judging by that time, we had too much social media, too much news coverage. It works back in the comic days. When it's just newspaper pictures, not now.
So one issue that I definitely have with this movie is the wasteful use of these characters and actors, because the cast is fucking stacked with amazing actors and so much talent. And I really do feel, with the exception of Batman, that every character is cast well, but I do feel like there's a lot of time wasted for their storylines to go nowhere. And so that is something that does actually like annoy me about this movie, was like, you had all the money in the world, such a diverse cast,
$250 million.
$250 million fucking dollars, and this is what y'all gave me. But yeah, I just think that that's super annoying, because I feel like now, it was wasteful to use these actors in these characters that so many people wanted to see and were good fit for the roles. So yeah, that does bug me that's how it was used. And I think a lot of it just goes back to that fucking script, because that script is all over the goddamn place.
Yeah. I think, the thing that really makes a good movie is our characters and a good story. And this doesn't really have a good story that
3-hour long story.
I don't have a purpose. I don't know which character I'm really supposed to follow. You have two main characters and they don't really have a true reason to fight. One of them does, one of them does not. And that is almost forced upon Superman to fight him, and he still doesn't. At the end, he's like, I don't want to fight him. Dude, I'm supposed to fight you, but I don't want to. Listen to me. Save Martha.
So, Joe, before we sign off, you've prepared a little game for us.
I wrote down some of my favorite wife quotes during this movie. As someone who is not a huge fan of comics or comic book movies, she only watches them because she enjoys them, but she has standards, unlike me. So let me read some of her favorite comments, and you can see if you can guess when she said them. Did she have to be in a bath for this?
Amy Adams in the bathtub when Superman comes in. Yep.
Not a necessary moment to us, yeah.
Ding ding.
That's a Batmobile I can get on board with. That made me laugh. That made me chuckle because she's not talking about the actual Batmobile.
Okay,
She's
that's what I thought. Don't explain anymore. I want to try to guess. Is it Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne?
So,
yeah. I'm killing it.
Didn't Anne Hathaway do that in the other one?
Yes, she did, but what it
It's like
is it wait, is it a reference to Gal Gadot?
It is not. Oh yeah. Gal Gadot, yeah. Gal Gadot is doing this thing that she thinks Anne Hathaway did. She steals the hacking device. She steals Batmobile. It's a very Selena move.
It is.
And that's why I was like,
right.
And the fact that like Anne Hathaway did it in Dark Knight, I was like, oh man, this is
too soon.
Let's find another one. Where the fuck is he?
Oh, that could be for so many people. Where the fuck is he? Is it when Superman just dips?
It is where Batman is in a dream sequence in a trench coat. Where the fuck is he?
That's a good question.
This is. It also goes with. This is a really long one. She was just exhausted by that. Like I was too. It was also almost her bedtime. This is her final one. See if you can figure out what she's talking about. This is such a waste of time.
Superman's death?
No, this is not about Superman's death, and it's not about the entire movie.
Okay,
there is
my second choice.
There is a shot of a gun shell falling from like Superman's funeral of them like saluting him, and the gun shell's just falling, bouncing. What are we doing? Can we wrap this movie up? Ugh.
Yeah, that's way too long for that.
What do we do? Yeah, guys, we get he's dead. We don't need to like glamorize this. Let's just wrap it up.
I think with that game, we're done. We've said all we needed to say about the infamous cinematic classic Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Several days later.
It's future Jessica and Joe. We realized that when we were recording our BVS episode, we forgot to explicitly say whether or not it deserves a second chance. And since that's basically the thesis of our entire show, we decided we would record it in the future. So hello from the future.
Hi everyone, it's us again.
It's us again. We're still living. Okay, so let's do our rating. Joe, do you think BVS deserves a second chance?
Well, from our 3 to 5 hour discussion on it about us and all our points of not enjoying this movie, as a comic book fan and comic book movie fan, I'm glad I watched it the first time, but I didn't really get anything new out of it the second time. It just reminded me of all the things I didn't like about it the first time. And especially with all that energy stowed up in me. No, I say you don't need to give it a second chance. You've seen it. You got it. You knew better. I wish it was better. The intro is super great, as I think we discussed, but like, it's meh. It's a lot of meh.
A lot worse than meh. So if you couldn't tell by the vibe of the entire episode, I also say do not give this movie a second chance. If you've never seen it, don't give it a first chance even. Don't take it that far.
I'm gonna pause you there because the wife had not seen it, and she just likes watching movies. She doesn't like particularly care like if it's a superhero or non-superhero. She liked it. So as someone who has never seen it, she had fun the first time. She wasn't as critical as we are. We like to whine and complain about things.
It's
just fun.
It's just fun for us.
But I try and look at the bright side of everything, and it's really tough in that movie.
It's
just a lot of, it's just messy. It's sloppy.
It's really sloppy. It's really infuriating because, again, they had so much potential that was just wasted. So it's definitely more frustrating the second time around. Don't give it a second chance. So that's, again, we forgot to say it at the end. You could probably have gathered throughout the episode that was our opinion, but we just needed to explicitly state it. That we both say no second chance. Thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for future episodes. We are now going to be getting into some Best Picture nominees, so stay tuned for that. Even though we both have certain feelings about award shows, we thought it'd be fun for us to do some Best Picture conversations. We thought it'd be fun to do some Best Picture second chances, so that'll be coming up after this episode.
Second
Want to see if the
chance
movies that won the Academy Awards still hold up and are still as amazing as everyone thought they were when they were out.
Yeah, so stay tuned and you'll find out the next few episodes. And in the meanwhile, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Second Chance Movies, and you can also find us on YouTube, Second Chance Movies. Martha.
Why'd you say that name?